President Gay, a few months ago, the Foundation for Individual Rights in Education released its rankings of how good colleges are at protecting free speech. And out of 248 schools ranked, Harvard ranked dead last, number 248. In fact, it was the worst score in the history of the rankings, 0 out of 100. Now, you've quibbled with the study, the methodology, but you don't get to be dead last without there being some truth there. And yet, in the aftermath of October 7th, including several times today, you've repeatedly stressed Harvard's commitment to free speech. You've certainly been more outspoken about free speech after October 7th than you were before. I don't think there's any doubt about that. So anyone looking at this objectively will see that you had literally the worst record in the country on free speech. And it was only once chants of globalize the Intifada started disrupting classes and harassing students that you suddenly became a stalwart for free speech. Do you understand why that's troubling to people?
Respectfully, I disagree with that perspective, and I don't think it's an accurate representation of how Harvard treats speech on campus. We are committed to free expression and making space for a wide range of views and voices and opinions. It's bedrock.
Well, thank you, Dr. Gay, but I asked if you
institution.
understand why people are troubled, and you proceeded to try to defend yourself, which suggests to me that you don't really understand and haven't adequately tried to. So I'm going to ask you a few questions, and I'd really appreciate a yes or no answer if you could. Do you believe Hamas is a terrorist organization?
Hamas is a terrorist organization.
Senator Schumer, in a speech a few days ago, characterized October 7th as a vicious, blood-curdling, premeditated massacre of innocent men, women, children, and elderly. Do you agree with that characterization?
That characterization is accurate, and I have condemned the heinous and barbaric terrorist attacks.
Senator Schumer also said that when students on college campuses across the country who wear a yarmulke or display a Jewish star are harassed, verbally vilified, pushed, and even spat upon and punched, that is anti-Semitism. Do you agree with him that that's anti-Semitism?
I agree.
Do you acknowledge that some incidents of that nature have been occurring on Harvard's campus?
I have been talking with students over the last couple of months, and they have shared searing testimony about some of the things that they have experienced.
And I'm glad you've made that outreach. But if you were talking to a prospective student's family, a Jewish student's family, right now, could you look them in the eye and tell them that their son or daughter would be safe and feel safe and welcome on your campus?
We are absolutely committed to student safety.
Yes, but I didn't ask that question about your commitment. I said, could you look them in the eye right now, the family of a prospective Jewish student, and assure them that their son or daughter would feel safe and welcome on your campus?
We are taking every step to ensure their physical and their psychological safety.
So yes or no to my question, though. Did you want to answer it? I guess not.
I have answered your question.
Would you say that a person who is an avowed neo-Nazi is someone that you would want to be part of the Harvard community?
Those are not consistent with Harvard's values, but at the same time, we allow a wide berth for free expression.
But the question was, would you want such a person who is an avowed neo-Nazi to be part of the Harvard community? Yes or no?
Those are not consistent with Harvard values.
So you would not want such a person to be part of the community?
Those are not consistent with Harvard values.
Would you want someone who has called for the eradication of the Jewish people to be part of the Harvard community?
Again, those are not consistent with Harvard values, where we are committed to making
Would you
no
want someone
space
who
on
has
our campus
called for the
anti-Semitism.
elimination of the state of Israel to be part of the Harvard community?
There is no place at Harvard for anti-Semitism.
But the elimination of the state of Israel, someone who advocates for that, is that someone you'd want to be part of the Harvard community?
There is no place for anti-Semitism at Harvard.
You're not answering my questions very well, Dr. Gabe, so I'll move on. You've said today that you're proud of Harvard's initial response, the initial steps Harvard has taken in the immediate aftermath of October 7th. But one of your predecessors, Dr. Larry Summers, was anything but proud. He said that in his 50 years of Harvard affiliation, I have never been as disillusioned and alienated as I am today. The silence from Harvard's leadership has allowed Harvard to appear at best neutral towards acts of terror against the Jewish state of Israel. Looking back, is there anything you would have done differently in the aftermath of October 7th?
So to be clear about what I was doing on October 7th, it was identifying whether or not we had any faculty or students.
Is there anything you would have
Israel.
done differently?
Had I known that the statement issued by the students would have been wrongly attributed to the university, I would have spoken sooner about it, but I was focused on action that weekend, not statements.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, but it's clear for me from your testimony, President Gay, I don't think you're a person of any kind of prejudice yourself, but you clearly seem to believe that that the forces of anti-Semitism are a constituency that needs to be catered to. I think that's clear from your silence, from the carefully parsed statements, from the Orwellian passive voice, and unfortunately, that message was heard loud and clear by the forces of anti-Semitism on your campus and has reverberated across American higher education and seeped into our broader culture. So we need fundamental cultural change
Thank you,
on university
Mr. Kiley.
campuses.